I'm Joel H. Brewster, and I'm no stranger to horror. And this is a podcast about the big and the small of the genre, with the hopes to take you from being a casual horror fan to a person like myself who's a spooky film fanatic. Today we'll be discussing the 2016 Julia Ducournau film, Raw, which is one of the strongest directorial debuts, I think, within the genre, but I'm really excited to get into it with my guest today. My guest today is Amber T. She's a writer, film reviewer, and my first guest that I've had on the show outside of North America. So I'm very excited to get into this. She runs the page. She runs a film page called Horn Blood Fire, which can be found on Instagram and Twitter. Amber, how are you doing today?
Hi, I'm really good, thanks. It's nice to be on here, and thank you for having me.
Oh yeah, of course. I was really excited to have you. I absolutely love your Instagram page. I think it's like one of the, it's just so fun to read because I'm a really big fan of like gorier, darker, kind of bleaker horror films. You cover a lot of that, so it's awesome.
Yeah, I really needed a space to put these films because my friends in real life like are so sick of me talking about, I don't know, like Slaughtered Vomit Dolls trilogy, and they just don't want to hear it. So I just needed a place to like meet other people who actually do like gory and dark stuff. So yeah, it's been great. I love running it. I love doing it.
Yeah, it's really cool too, because that's what I love about so like, you know, social media gets such a bad rap, but I think that through it, I've made like a lot of connections with different people that I wouldn't usually get to talk to, obviously, because like you said, it's hard to find people that like these types of movies. So it's
absolutely. Yeah. And like, I don't know, just the fact now, like you're in Canada, I'm in Korea, I'm from the UK, like we would never have, you know, met or known each other if it wasn't for this community. And I think that's really cool. Like I talk to so many people from around the world, and it's just really amazing that we all have this thing in common and want to chat about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is going to be really fun because I think it's funny that you're in Korea, I'm in Canada, we're going to be talking about a French movie.
Yeah.
And I think like, everything about that is just like when we were kind of discussing what movies to go through, it was really fun too, because when I was like saying suggestions to you, I was like, oh, this is cool, because I know like a lot of these darker, gory films, usually with like guests, I have to like go not lighter on the horror, but I was like, oh, I'm just throw whatever that's out there. So what made you choose Raw, by the way? Because you kind of briefly told me I'd like you to get into a little further.
Yeah, so I actually was recently, I'm trying to write more like long form articles, and I've been really looking into recently auto cannibalism, and kind of I recently posted on my Instagram the French film In My Skin, which I will get into a little bit more later, which I see a lot of that film in Raw. And recently it's been on my mind. So when you mentioned it, I was like, oh yes, great. I've got all these thoughts that I have had over the last couple of weeks. It'd be great to like get them out in the open and talk about it with someone like yourself who, you know, obviously enjoys the gorier things as well. I love the movie. I agree with you. It's a really strong debut. And I'm so excited to see Titan, like her new movie. I can't wait to see it. It looks insane. Like, I mean, I haven't even seen a trailer or anything. I've just read the synopsis, and it's just, yeah, I think she's great. She's one to watch for sure.
Oh, absolutely. Do you go into a lot of these films without watching the trailer, or was this trailer just not available for you for Titan?
A lot of the times, I mean, I didn't even watch the trailer for Raw. I'm really like, I just see the name or a poster and I'm like, I want to watch that now. And a lot of the time I don't look into things beforehand because I don't know, sometimes people's reviews on things put me off.
Yeah.
Or I want to go in with like a fresh perspective and my own thoughts on it. I don't want to have the influence of other people, like, and especially with something like Raw, I think it was rightfully so. It was really big in the horror conversation. And also me living in Korea, a lot of things don't really get released here. Like a lot of, especially movies from the West or North America or Europe, they don't come out in Korea in the movie theater. So I get all of my knowledge on, you know, horror films and stuff from the internet. And as I'm sure you're aware, there's a lot of not so great opinions floating around on the internet. So
yeah, that's very true.
Yeah, I do like to go into things with kind of blind, open mind kind of thing.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that a lot of the horror films from over here don't make it to Korea, because a lot of the films from Korea obviously don't make it over here. And that has been like my obsession lately has been like Korean horror films, and I've just been really
so cool.
blown away by a lot of the films that are coming from out of there. So it's like for instance, have you seen the movie The Witch? The Korean film The Witch?
No, does it have? Is that the like, does it have a Korean title?
I think it may. It's like the Witch Subversion Part 1 over here. I'm thinking it was a Korean. It came out in 2018. But we didn't get it over here for a very long time. Like, we didn't get it over here until, like, I think last year.
Oh, okay. Was it released? Did it come out in the movie theater?
Over here, it didn't. No, I think it came out in the movie theater in Korea, though.
Yeah, see, that's the other thing. So the horror movies that do come out here, they very rarely have English subtitles.
Oh, really?
And my Korean is not good enough to watch a film like purely in Korean, which is a real shame because right now the Medium is out. The Na Hong-jin's new movie with a Thai director, I think, had something to do with it. I can't remember his name anyway. It looks from Na Hong-jin is the director of The Wailing.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Goksong, which I absolutely adore. And every time I go to the movie theater recently, I've seen these posters up for The Medium, and I'm so devastated that I can't watch it yet because there's no English version available.
Oh, that's so interesting. That'd be torture for me too, because I'm like, I really want to see this, and it's like in a theater, the perfect environment to see it, because we don't get any, like, we rarely get Korean films that come to theaters here whatsoever. So like, there's so many that I would have loved to see in theaters, but we just don't get them over here. And then in your situation, you get them, but
I can't access them. Yeah, it really makes me sad. Although I have been like going into the movie theaters and asking if they have any of the posters left, like, but I keep getting let down.
Oh,
maybe one day.
Yeah, maybe that'd be really cool if they, like. Do you get a lot of posters that way? By the way, because that'd be really cool to get authentic posters that way.
No, I haven't had any luck yet. But I keep trying. When I was at home in the UK, I was desperate for a Midsummer poster. So I went to like 4 or 5 movie theaters just begging them if they had any. But I don't know. I thought it was a more common thing that you could go into the cinema and ask for a movie theater a movie poster, but I don't know. Maybe it's not so much anymore.
Yeah, I think it was once upon a time, but I don't think maybe it's not anymore, I guess.
That's a shame.
Yeah. You know, it's funny. We actually have another connection here. I was actually born in England. I moved to Canada when I was 3 years old.
Oh, really? Oh, that's awesome. Where were you born?
I was born in London, but like
nice.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool. So do you have a UK passport?
I do.
Oh, I was going to say like, so you have an EU access too, but not anymore, I guess.
No.
That's a shame.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool though.
Yeah,
do you have any like memories of England or?
I do, and I've been back since, and my family all lives there and everything like that, and like both my parents still like are like very British accents and such. But I love the UK. Yeah,
it's a cool place. I mean, I miss it. I haven't lived there in a few years now, but I am going back to live there in December, and I'm very excited.
That's really cool. It's so. You've been like, you briefly kind of got into, you kind of got to travel a lot. Do you say, because you've lived in Korea before? Yeah, I've lived in Korea, Japan, Vietnam, and China for a month or so. Just a little tiny bit in China. And then now back to Korea. So I have been around a fair bit of Asia. That's really, really cool. Yeah, it's great. Do you have like a preference on horror films from, look, I guess you get to like kind of see like different parts of the world. Do you have a preference on like where your horror film tastes go? Do you like American horror films more, or do you just like all sorts of horror films pretty much? I am a massive fan of Japanese horror. That's pretty much how I graduated from, the more jump scary, don't know how to put it. I felt like pop horror pretty much. Yeah. Like, like the North American kind of, and there's nothing wrong with that. I love so many films like that. But I remember I watched Cairo, Pulse. And I don't know if you've seen it, but there's that scene with the woman ghost that's walking across the floor. Mm-hmm. And I literally, like, I've seen a fair few horror movies in my time now, and if I think of that scene with that woman walking across the floor all weird, I can't sleep. Like, it still really gets to me. And since I saw that, like, I love Japanese horror. And when I lived there, it was sad because it was the same situation. My Japanese isn't good enough to watch a film.
in Japanese and the movies would come out and it would kind of be the same thing. But yeah.
It's funny too, because the series this year that gave me nightmares. People always ask me that, because as a horror fan, I'm sure you get asked this too. It's like, what horror movies give you nightmares? What give you nightmares? For me, I'm going to pronounce it wrong. Like the Grudge series, Ju-on.
Oh, Ju-on, yeah.
Ju-on Origins TV series. I'm not sure if you saw it, the Netflix one.
Oh, wait, no, I haven't seen the TV series. I saw the new Ju-on movie that was on Netflix. I think it's called The Beginning of the End. But no, is the TV show worth checking out? Absolutely
worth checking out. That was the first thing that gave me nightmares this year. Yeah, that actually it was unsettling, very unsettling.
I mean, I don't know if you can see my Zoom picture right now, the black cat.
Yeah.
That's Ma, the Saeki family's cat from The Grudge.
Yeah, I recognize that.
Yeah, I love Ju-on. It's just horrible. And that makes it great. Like, it's like the fact that her croaking sound is so synonymous with like terrifying horror now. And like, even now, if I hear that, if I make that croaking sound to myself at home, like I get chills.
Yeah, it's funny too. Like you'll absolutely love the series. The series was it was really haunting. Which was because I rewatched obviously Raw before this podcast episode. So I saw it. I think I saw it originally when it came out, and then I had seen it since. So I rewatched it. I'm like, I'm really excited to get into this again. And when I was watching it this time around, I think there was a lot of a shock factor the first time I saw it. And then this time around, the shock factor was different in a sense that like the scenes, for instance, where she was, where her skin starts to peel. The rash scene. Yes. And the scratching that really, like this time around, I think first time around, I was like, that was pretty intense. And you're just like so shocked because you're first seeing it. This time around, I had the buildup of it, and that just that scene really got to me. Yeah, it's the way she scratches. Like it's so I don't know. It's just so visceral. I mean, the whole movie is visceral. I would use that word to describe everything in it. But yeah, the scratching, you can like almost feel her nails like in your own skin. It's really aggressive. Yeah. And the sound is just, and just watching, you just feel uncomfortable. Like you said, you can feel the nails in your skin. You just feel uncomfortable watching. And that was the whole thing. Watching the movie, you just feel so uncomfortable watching so much of it. But at the same time, there is so many beautiful shots in this movie that this time around, I think I was more stunned by that, of how many shots were, especially for a directorial debut, there was so much beauty to this movie. Yeah, it's gorgeous. It's absolutely gorgeous. No, I'm the same as you. Actually, the first time I watched it, I passed out. And I know everyone says that, like, the movie was so scary, I fainted. But gore doesn't bother me too much. But for some reason, like, I don't know, I would call it like realistic gore, like the scratching and cannibalism really gets me as well. It wasn't even anything like scary. It was the first scene where she's in the supermarket, the food court, and she accidentally eats the meat. And for some reason, because I knew what was coming, like I knew the movie was about cannibalism or, about tasting human flesh. And I was just that scene, I was like, oh, there I go. Got really lightheaded. No way. It was really embarrassing. But yeah, no, it's such a beautiful movie. It's such a this time when I watched it, I was struck by like the kind of coldness to it. Like there's a really stark feel, especially when they're on the rooftop, and really gorgeous, really nice. Another scene, because I was watching with my wife and she had to look away during the scene with where I'm trying to remember the character's name here because I just want to know Justine, when Justine's eating her sister's finger after she cuts it off. My wife's like, tell me when that scene's over. I'm like, fair enough. It's when I watched this time, I was like, you can see on her face the moment when she's like, oh shit, this has opened a door. Like when she puts the blood, like she licks the blood and then she's like, uh-oh. Yeah. Like she's realized like this is a thing she's been missing the whole time. Yeah, I think this time around, and I'm not sure how I didn't catch it the first time around, it's like a very interesting look at addiction. It really felt like I was watching an addiction film. Like, have you seen the film Shame before? The Michael Fassbender one? Yes.
Yes, love that.
It kind of reminded me of like Shame, or like, have you seen the film Filth with James McAvoy?
I haven't seen it, but I've read the book. It's by the author who did Trainspotting, right? I forget his name.
Yes, it is.
Yes, yeah, I have read the book. Yeah,
yeah. The film for it has kind of an addiction feel to it too, and Trainspotting as well, which from my understanding was some of the withdrawal scenes was Julia Ducournau was like an inspiration for what she told Justine's character to like how to react to it. And she made her rewatch the Trainspotting like withdrawal scenes, which was like a cool fun fact. And like when I was watching it this time around, I didn't like, I caught more so of the addiction sort of feeling, which I was, I guess, dumb to not catch the first time, because it's very clearly like a lot of the withdrawal scenes and such like that. But it was just so hard to watch a lot of the things, because just watching the character Justine like go through so much and the coming of age nature of it just looked like a bad time for her. a lot of the movie.
Yeah. Also that university, I mean, obviously I went to university in the UK, so I don't know if this is like common for French universities, but it just looks like a horrible experience.
Yeah. And I was saying, when I was watching this with my wife, I was saying to her too, that we see a lot of, there's a lot of stories of, because being adjacent to America, there's a lot of stories of like university hazings and such.
Yes, I wanted to ask you about that actually, because I mean, maybe I just went to a really lame university, but I have no experience with that. We just didn't do that. But I know it's bigger, like you said, in America, and I don't know, is it a thing in Canada? Like,
not to my understanding of like that, and the hazing, and it was interesting in this style of hazing of how in a lot of American culture, a lot of like the stories you hear, the hazing stories are always just the older people just doing this to younger people, not in any sense to make them better or anything like that, just because it's a path to make them go through. And in this film, they really seem to amplify that these older vets that were like the seniors there, like, oh, we're doing this so you can be like better vets. And they were like, it was seemed worse to me, because they were somewhat nice to them sometimes and then absolutely terrible some other times. Which I think really messes your mind more.
Yeah, just like the whole, like when they chant and the blood scene, like when they pour the blood over them, that's amazing. That again, that's such a visually stunning shot. Like that's probably one of my favorite shots. Yeah, I think that will go down as like an iconic horror moment as well.
That shot, and I even wrote this part down, as one of my favorite shots in the whole movie is Justine's sex scene with Adrian. When she bites herself over his shoulder. That shot that Ducournau captured there is one of my favorite all-time horror shots, probably my top 5. That was really, really, really cool.
Yeah, that whole scene is just, she's like an animal. Like you can tell at that point she's like fully devolving like back into this animalistic state. And I love Adrian. Like I really love poor Adrian.
Yeah.
He at some points he looks like scared for his life when he's like, stop it. And then he kind of like just lets her bite herself, and that obviously like that's what she needed. And he's like really sweet then, like stroking her hair and stuff, but it's just her, like the way she looks over the shoulder and like her eyes go all dark. Amazing.
Yeah. And like you're saying, an animal, like the devolving of her throughout the film is so scary to watch. Like the party scene where, first of all, I should mention the party scenes throughout this were another thing. Like I've never seen such an interesting take at some of the party scenes that are in this, like that school. I was like, it felt really like Ducournau had like a wild party life, because so many of these things are like, what? Like, but the party scene where Justine's really starting to like really drunk, and that was like one of the most animalistic scenes for me too, when she's like walking around there and she's really drunk and she's going through the party. She gets pushed away. She kisses that girl, gets pushed away, and then obviously her sister does the thing with the corpse. Yeah, that was another one of those, like how would she look like, and that was so scary to me too. Yeah,
she was like on the floor like a dog, like, and I love that they used like the video for like the cell phone camera. Yeah, just great, love it.
Yeah, just a quick question here. What got you into horror? And because you said that Pulse got you into like Japanese horror, what got you into actually like horror films?
I think it pretty much like most people my age from my similar background is I used to get my hands on like, so in the UK there was this thing called video nasties, which were basically like banned movies. I think I think Chucky was one. There was like a lot of the movies that came out in the 80s and 90s in America, like they were called video nasties in the UK because they were apparently like, the whole moral panic thing.
I just saw the movie Censor, so I just
Oh, desperate to see that. That looks amazing. Sidetrack.
Don't worry about getting sidetracked on the show. So I don't mean to cut you off, but you'll love Censor. We'll talk about that more.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, I know. I've heard it's kind of of a similar thing. So basically, one of my first memories is me and my friends got our hands on a copy of Evil Dead, which was banned in the UK for a while, and I can't remember where we got the copy. I think one of our parents had it like pirated or bootlegged or something. And before that, I'd seen The Sixth Sense. I think I can't remember, maybe the others, I'm not sure, but it kind of like tamer horror movies, just like not really any gore or anything like that. And I remember we put the Evil Dead on, and it was the scene, I can't remember which character it is, but he gets his face scratched and you just see these long red nails come out from behind the shower curtain. And just like, I was so terrified. I couldn't sleep properly. Every time I went into my bathroom, I had to check like behind the shower, but I couldn't stop thinking about it. I kept trying to chase that same feeling of like, oh my God, I'm so horrified, but it's amazing. Like, I love it.
It's like a roller coaster.
And yeah, for sure. And after that, it was kind of like a downward spiral. After that, I kind of, again, we got some more video nasties. I think me and my friends watched A Clockwork Orange, which...
Great movie.
Oh, yeah, great movie. But that opened a few doors that probably should have been opened. And it just like from there, I just found it just so exciting, and I just love the imagery. I'm very big into like folklore and mythology, and I think like there's some great opportunities for horror stories in those stories.
Yeah, and another thing that I've noticed from like following your page, which I love your writing style, and I love like a lot of the films most films you tackle. Some of them are like obscure to me, and I'm a horror fan, and I've like some of them I hadn't heard of. Like I should really look it up. But one thing I was really excited to talk to you about is like you like bleak horror films too, and this kind of had that.
Oh yeah.
And another one that I saw you recently cover was The Dark and the Wicked.
Oh, love that.
Loved it. I just love that bleak style of horror films. A lot of people don't like bleak horror films, and I find that like even within like the horror fandom community, that seems to be like a thing that people don't like. And I was excited to talk to you more about this because this movie had a really like bleak sort of ending too. Yeah. Especially for Adrian.
Poor Adrian.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I don't know. I this sounds really bad, but for me, I love when I turn a movie off and I'm like, God, I'm depressed. Yeah. I love that because that means it's worked. Like gore is great. I'm not a big slasher fan. I will watch them, but I'm not the biggest slasher fan because they're fun, but for me, like, I know something is true art when I just sound so pretentious. Sorry. I know when it like really grabs me and I'm like, I'm so unhappy when I finish watching it. Cause I don't know. I just love that. That's great.
Exactly how I feel too. Like that hit I get. I'm just listing off movies here. Have you seen Vivarium?
No, I haven't seen that one.
Okay. That I don't want to spoil that movie. It's a very interesting kind of like a sci-fi horror.
Okay.
With, I think of it. Imogen Poots and Jesse Eisenberg. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That one I think you'll really like. It has kind of the same sort of bleakness to it throughout the film. And it's just has that really style that kind of sits with you after. Another thing that does that too was until it's season, like Black Mirror kind of has episodes too that are just like so bleak that sit with me after, or Dead Set. The miniseries was like kind of like that ending too.
Yeah, Black Mirror, obviously I'm from the UK, so Black Mirror, I've been watching it when it first came out. And I don't want to sound like really awful and pretentious, but as soon as it got bought, I think Netflix bought it, or it got bought by an American company. And as soon as it went into, I think the last season was season 5, maybe, Oh, just it went downhill so fast.
That's exactly what that's why I mentioned, I'm like, yeah, without, counting this season, like it lost that magic, that kind of, like the magic that like White Bear had. Like after I watched like, White Bear, or like, there's so many of them that are just so like after, it's like you said, after you sit there and watch, or White Christmas was another one too.
Oh,
after
I watched
that, I'm like, I just sat there like, man, I kind of feel like messed up. Like I just would be having a shower thinking about like being stuck in that sort of consciousness inside of the brain. I'm like, that's like one of the worst fates I've ever seen. Yeah,
I always get funny looks when I tell people this. My favorite episode of Black Mirror is Shut Up and Dance, which is the one with the young boy who's been looking at things on the internet. He gets recorded.
Yep. And goes on the kind of like a path.
And the whole way through, you're like, okay, it's pretty bad that he was recorded jerking off. That's a horrible thing to happen to anyone. But then when you find out at the, no spoilers, and also it's not a very nice thing to talk about. But when you find out at the end what it was, and then they play Radiohead exit music for film, and it's just so depressing. It's just like a gut punch.
Oh, yeah. See, that's like the magic that they don't have anymore.
That Miley Cyrus one, like, come on. I don't want a happy ending. I don't go to Black Mirror to feel happy. I don't want that.
No, like, I want to be sitting there like days later thinking like parts of it and be like, oh, well, I don't feel really good about it. Another one was, what is that one with the camera inside the brain, and then like she...
Archangel?
I think that's the one. It's like the witness, like the murder sort of situation.
Oh no, Crocodile.
Crocodile. Yeah. Was like, that's like the sort of bleakness where I'm like, I don't think they'll never do again. I don't.
Yes. No, I don't know if they could. I mean, that's a lot of Black Mirror is so British. Mm-hmm. We are people who have a very dark sense of humor and a bleakness that, I think a lot of audiences in America, I don't know about Canada personally, but a lot of audiences in America and the US would not maybe be okay with. What was that? Recently I was watching a video on The Descent.
Great movie.
But apparently I didn't know this. They filmed two endings. And basically the UK version has the horrible ending, the really depressing one. Yeah. And the one they released in the US is a bit more positive at the end. And I don't know if that's anything to do with audience preference or humor style. I'm not sure, but we definitely do things a bit bleaker where I'm from. And that's why the best Black Mirror ones, I think, are the ones that, the homegrown ones, like the first, second, and third series are just, in my opinion,
mine too.
The best ones.
I think it's kind of like the general opinion on this series. That's why, like a film like Raw, if they because when I get so nervous when I hear they're making an American remake of one. I haven't heard that about Raw. I don't think they'll ever do that. But I don't think they could ever make an American remake of Raw. It would be the weirdest. I would hate it on so many different levels. Yeah. But I think that it's interesting. Like there's remakes. There's other countries that I think. I was thinking about this. For remakes, the other countries I think could do a remake of Raw. I wish they wouldn't. I hope it never happens. But I wouldn't mind a remake from like England was not like a place, but like kind of like that sort of like if they stick with that like the bleakness as well as like Korea is another place I think would actually be a very interesting. I wonder if they'd be able to like kind of capture that magic. But I think I'd like a Korean version of Raw because Train to Busan sort of had like that sort of like the ending of that. Did you? I'm assuming.
I love Train to Busan. Yeah.
The ending of that, for instance, was another one for me that was like kind of like a beautiful ending, but also
beautiful but horrible. Yeah, and I'm totally on board with what you said about like. I just feel. Well, I heard they're making an American Train to Busan.
Yep.
And I already know they're not. Am I allowed to say spoilers?
Oh, you can say spoilers. On
okay. Yeah. So, I already know they're not going to let the dad die.
No chance.
There's no way they're going to have the dad and the baby girl walk off into the sunset together, and that's lovely. That's nice. But the dad dying, just makes it just hits so much harder, and you're like, God, this is so brutal with that poor little girl at the end when she's in the train and she's like screaming at the window.
Yeah.
That to me makes that movie amazing.
The dad crying too when he's thinking back to the memories.
Oh my
it's like one of the most beautiful horror movie moments, I think. And it's like, it's one of those things that when like I saw that too, like looking back, I'm like, even thinking of that, I'm like, oh, that makes me want to cry. Like, it was just such a, the movie really sat with me that way. What a phenomenal zombie film.
Oh, so good. So good. I can't remember the actor's name, the big guy. Hang on. Ma Dong-seok, who plays, I can't remember the character's name, but he plays the big guy.
Yep.
I love him.
Yeah. He's one of the best characters of the show. Like he's with the wife, right? With the pregnant wife. The pregnant wife.
Yeah. And another thing that upsets me is, I know this isn't a Train to Busan podcast, but
oh no, it's okay.
So much of Train to Busan is so specifically Korean. I'm not Korean, obviously, so it's not really my place to say, but I have lived here for a number of years, and there's so much of it that just won't translate. And that really upsets me because they're going to take, when you remake things from a film that has so much of the culture embedded in it, you lose so much of it through translation and through. I was thinking the other day, imagine if they tried to make a Parasite remake.
They were trying to.
Oh, what? Are you serious? Oh my God.
Yeah, that's in the works too.
So much of that movie is so uniquely Korean and is speaks to the Korean experience. And Train to Busan too. And also, does the US even have like a train system?
I was just going to say that. What are they going to call the movie? Like, was it going to be Train to Baltimore? Like, what is it going to be? Like, it doesn't have the same title. You know what I mean? Like, what are they going to call it is my like question too.
Yeah. And they don't have, as far as I'm aware, they don't have like the high speed, the KTX is the Korean one that they're on in the film. I don't think the US has that kind of high speed train system. I might be wrong.
I don't believe so. And nothing like that. So I don't know how they're going to do it. It's me. I almost hope they don't do it.
Yeah, me too. I hope it bombs.
Yeah.
Like, I hope it what was the other? They did the US remake of Old Boy.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, that's sacrilegious as it is. But I think, I didn't see it. I didn't interact with it. But I think it really bombed. I think it was a box office flop. And I think that's what they need. Yeah. That's good.
They should. I agree. And it didn't do well. It didn't translate well. It's one of those things. Like, I don't think that. And the thing that makes me nervous about Train to Busan, and same thing that would make me nervous if they did like a remake of like Raw, is that they would take out like the like kind of the not even just like the gore element of it, just like the absolute like the violence of it to try to make it more marketable to audiences.
Yeah, for sure.
I feel like with Train to Busan, they would aim more towards like World War Z, like how World War Z was a PG-13 horror film, and there was no blood in it.
No blood, which was
an interesting choice for a zombie film.
Yeah, I didn't hate World War Z, but I didn't. It was trash that I enjoyed watching. But now that you've mentioned, I never actually thought that there's no blood in it. There's literally no blood in it. Even when that girl gets her hand chopped off, like, where's the blood?
They do an off-screen arm chopping. And I always say there's certain genres of, we can throw cannibalism in here too. There's certain like subgenres of film that you can't do non-rated R. I don't think you can do, in my humble opinion, you can't do a zombie film without being rated R. You can't do a vampire film without being rated R. You definitely can't do a cannibalism film without it being rated R. Because I just don't think, people don't understand, like the blood itself in these movies is kind of a character in a sense. Like it translates. Like that shot where she like I mentioned in Raw, where she bites herself in the hand and the blood goes, like drips off her hand, like that's, wouldn't translate if there wasn't that blood. Like it just like visually looks so beautiful that way.
Yeah, definitely. And it's realistic gore as well. Like it's not like splatter. Like, she bites her hand and what I'm assuming the realistic amount of like very dark blood comes out.
Yeah.
It's not like, this bright red luminescent stuff spouting out at all angles, which I also love, but it wouldn't suit this movie.
No, and it takes like that. That's why I love kind of like the art house sort of style of like this. Oh God, this movie is just so well done.
It really is.
It's just so well done. It's so ambitious, and I don't think it's talked about in the same conversation as other like horror directorial debuts enough.
No, I mean too. Yeah, I mean, I wasn't involved in the horror community in 2016, so I don't really know how it was received, but I don't really see a lot about it online. I mean, compared to like, I don't know, Midsummer or Hereditary, sorry, which is, you know, Ari Aster's debut. People love Hereditary and talk about it constantly, and you know, I like The Witch, exactly, yeah, and I like those two films a lot, and I think Raw probably deserves to be, you know, with them. And we, you know, Get Out too, Jordan Peele's debut. Like, those are 4 amazingly strong debuts. And, you know, we've seen from Aster and Eggers. I haven't seen the new Candyman. I know obviously Jordan Peele didn't direct it, but again, sorry, tangent, wasn't in love with Us, liked it. But Julia Ducournau, like, I just know that good things are coming from her. Like, that the fact that she's, you know, Titan has been received so well, and it's what they call it, the sophomore slump, like the second movie often fails, but no, I think it's great. Yeah, I love it.
It's interesting too, because Titan already has the same sort of the legend behind it, like Raw did, with people passing out in theaters. Recently at TIFF, somebody passed out in theaters, which is another thing that happened when people saw Raw, which also happened to you. But I think it has that element to it that I remember Raw was one of the first, because now they say it all the time. Now you see it all the time. People are like, oh, it's so scary that you won't be able to finish this movie. You see that countless amount of times. But this Raw was like one of the first modern horror films that I saw kind of mentioning that, like, people were passing out. And I was like, well, I'll be the judge of that. And when I saw it, I got why people were passing out.
It's queasy. It makes you feel queasy.
Oh,
and yeah, like, I don't know, when it's always like they put it on like Insidious or like I don't know, like the new Conjuring, like, oh, you'll pass out. I was like, no, I won't. No. I know I won't, but I will pass out if I see a girl like biting into her own flesh. Yeah. Because that's, you know, there's something more, I don't know, more visceral and more subtle about it. And I just love it. Just love this movie.
Or even the scene where she coughs up the hair.
Oh, yeah.
And I even think I'm like, that's scarier than everything that's happened in Insidious. Like that, like just like moments like that are even like that. It just makes me feel like a lot more uncomfortable. Or you could just have like 30 seconds of her scratching her skin, and like that's like more uncomfortable than most like popular horror films that come out.
Yeah, for sure, definitely. It when she was chewing her hair as well, that, I mean, obviously, and that led into like the hairball that she vomits up. Like that, I don't know, it's just something. Obviously, there's so many reference to animals in this movie, and like the line between human and animal being blurred. And it's also so realistic. Like when I was younger, I used to chew my hair when I was like stressed and anxious. And it's just like the little details like that you see in Raw that make Justine is she's such a well-fleshed, excuse the pun, well-fleshed out character. And, her sister too, Alexia, like the two of them, I could just watch a movie of those two like fighting and being like cutesy sisters together. I just love the pair of them.
Me too, yeah. And the thing is too about how they didn't really get into the detail of exactly, like they showed that it's obviously hereditary, that they have this like need to like eat like human flesh once they've consumed meat, but they didn't really like explain like past what was going on. I love the ending of it, like how they revealed that. I love that they didn't go into detail, because you're like, oh my gosh, like, so the mom, so it's obviously passed down like through the mother, but we don't know anything more about that, and you just see the poor dad like there with all these scars all over him. And and do you know what also I love that we won't get a Raw 2, and I love that we can be guaranteed that we're not going to get a sequel. Yeah, I love that too. That's like, integrity for me. Like that's like I love that we're not going to get a sequel. Did you see it? It's on the same tangent of Julia Ducournau. She directed I think it was an episode or 2 of M. Night Shyamalan's TV series, The Servant. Oh, is that the one about the baby? Or there's something about a baby in it? Yes. Okay, I haven't seen it, but I did see the trailer for it, and I thought this looks pretty creepy. It's really well done. It's like surprisingly, it's like really, really well done. The first season's like really good. It's a lot of like, you're just, you're uncomfortable the whole show. Yeah. And I've mentioned this before in like blog posts that I've written about that series, is that one of my favorite parts of the series is Rupert Grint, and I cannot remember the other main character's the main character, the husband. I can't remember his real name, but he's also a British actor, and they're both playing Americans. And my favorite part of the whole series is not even like the scary horror elements. It's just those two sitting around drinking wine. And they do it every episode. They just drink this like high class wine, and like the husband's a chef in it, and they just cook these like beautiful meals, and they just sit and scheme and talk, and it's like the most fun part of the show.
Love that. Yeah, I mean, that's the sign of a good director, who can take two characters and make it entertaining where you just want to watch them.
Yeah.
Like I could watch Justine and her sister just like acting out, going on adventures and like eating people. I don't want to see a sequel, but I could happily watch it.
Oh yeah, I could watch a whole series of them just doing that.
Yeah.
And like you said, there won't be a sequel, and I love that. Same thing happened with Jennifer Kent's another great directorial debut, Jennifer Kent with Babadook. She signed to never have a sequel. She she got the rights to make sure there's never a sequel, and I'm like, I love that. I love to hear that.
Yeah, absolutely. Because like you said, there's a sense of integrity to it. There's like this is the story I wanted to tell. I've told it, and I'm satisfied with it, and I trust the audience enough to come up with their own ending. Like I hate it when movies like treat me like I'm stupid. Yeah. Oh, this is what you're supposed to think happened. This is what really happened. I'm like, no, I want the freedom. That's why I love David Lynch so much, because I want the freedom to have my own interpretation of it. And that's something that I really appreciate from a directorial debut. And I think we're actually getting more of it these days as well.
I think so too.
I don't think we're going to get a Midsummer 2 or like a Hereditary 2, and that's a good thing in my opinion.
Me too. And I think that I'm liking a lot of these newer horror directors that are doing this, that they are making these beautiful art piece like horror films, and without franchising them off to have like 30,000 of them. Like sometimes there are franchises where I'm like, I kind of did want to see more of that world. The Purge is a good example where they kind of franchised off. They did a TV series. I'm like, I kind of want to see what the laws of the Purge were. That kind of made sense. Yeah, for sure. That. But that does not work for any of these like art house or it works for like pop horror. It doesn't really work for like art house horror, I don't think, in any context.
Yeah, for sure. No, definitely. And there's, there are franchises. I mean, I think the world needs franchises as well. Like, I'm not anti-franchise. I'm not anti like Halloween or anything. There's a place for them. But sometimes it's nice to not get overwhelmed with content a lot of the time, like not have it shoved on you all the time, and just appreciate what you're given and be like, this is a wonderful little piece of art and it exists in its own little bubble, and I'm happy with that.
Exactly. And I did not need Don't Breathe 2. I didn't need
Don't Breathe 1, honestly. I hated it.
I didn't need that. And I didn't need Quiet Place 2 actually either, now that I saw it. Did you see Quiet Place 2?
I don't know if you know, but I absolutely hate A Quiet Place, and I don't like it. And every time I say this to people, they're like, "Oh, why don't you like it?" I just really hate it. I've just got a real bug up my ass about it.
I want to know more. Like, I don't love it, but like, I want to know more.
I just thought it was unoriginal. I'm going to lose so many followers for this. I just thought it was completely. It didn't make any sense. The world didn't make any sense. It annoyed me that Emily Blunt got pregnant. Yeah. Why would you bring a baby? And I know people are banging, and that happens. But it annoyed me that they didn't put any thought into this world that they're supposedly living in. Why didn't they live next to the waterfall? I don't know. It just annoyed me. So I didn't watch the second one. Should I?
Don't recommend it. The second one, like everyone and it's funny too, because like online, everyone's like, the second one's so good. It really helped the story. When I watched the second one, I'm like, no, like it's interesting to watch. That there's no character development, like no growth for the characters. I'm like, you could have just stopped at the first one. Nothing changes for the characters from the beginning of the second movie to the end of the second movie. I'm like, oh, so we're at the same spot as that beginning at the end of the first movie. So I'm like, we didn't do this.
That's when you can tell, like, no offense to John Krasinski, I don't know him, but you can tell it's so obvious. And I mean, I know it's Hollywood, there are cash grabs everywhere, but it's so offensive when you see a film that's literally just made to get cash. Like, I know there are people who enjoy it and good for them, but I don't know. To me, it's just like, come on, give us a little more.
it really bothers me too that, like, for instance, this movie, Raw, did not get like the accolades, or actually it did awards wise, but I feel like it didn't get like the conversation for a directorial debut as like The Quiet Place was. I get that The Quiet Place was more of a pop, like it's you can not even like pop horror, but like you can really just like get more people that would watch that than like probably the trailer to Raw. But
for sure, it's an easy watch. Raw isn't an easy watch for a lot of people. I'm sure it would put people off. Yeah,
and it's interesting too. And I've been saying it's interesting a lot here, but there's a lot of people that don't watch foreign horror, which I found to be really, being in North America, there's like a big, being in a lot of horror groups on social media, they're like, I won't watch it because it's got subtitles. I'm like, you're missing out on so many movies.
So much. Like that blows my mind. Like what did Bong Joon-ho say? He said, once you overcome the 1-inch tall barrier of subtitles, like your world will be opened up into so many more movies or something. And that's just like, it's perfect. Like,
absolutely. And like,
sorry, carry on.
No, I was just going to say that, like, and the two places that like have a lot of like, obviously Japan, Korea, and France, like there's a lot of these like movies. I'm like, oh, these are so goddamn original. That I'm like, yeah, you need to like, I think they're like necessary viewing.
Oh, absolutely. You miss out on so much. And I know for a lot of people it is bothersome to like read and watch at the same time, but I don't think it's bothersome enough that it should put you off the film.
No, and also I think to add on to that, I find that with movies like with movies that are like or I Saw the Devil, or like a lot of these more viscerally violent horror films with subtitles, it forces you to not look away. And I really
yeah, absolutely, yeah. So many times, I mean, I have like a 3-second attention span, and so many times I'll put on a movie in English, and I will be looking at my phone, and I'll have to go back. Yeah. And I'm like, right, I missed this because the noise, it's background noise to me because I can understand it. I'll go in the other room and start making some like coffee or something, and I'll come back and be like, what am I doing? I need to concentrate. Yeah. But you can't do that with a foreign film, because if you don't understand the language and you walk away from it, you have to, like you said, you have to be looking, you have to be concentrating all the time. And yeah.
And it sticks with you more that way, right? Because like if you're just that hyper focused into it, it sticks with you more. That's why I love having this podcast, right? Because when I have to watch a movie for like conversational of this podcast or for whatever reason, then I'm like, I have to like hyper focus into it, as opposed to like if I'm just watching kind of like a popular like whatever horror movie, TV series, whatever it is. Like you said, I can just be like, I can just kind of zone out, and I'm like thinking of other things sometimes too. But with a foreign film, I have no choice. I have to read that. I have to understand, like, the culture is always different too. So you just, even when you're just reading just their mannerisms, everything like that, are such a different, unique way of like addressing things.
Yeah, absolutely.
That like, there's so much to absorb that I feel like these like foreign horror films always seem to stick with me more than a lot of other films.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like I said, the ones that keep me up at night are the Korean, Japanese. I've been really wanting to explore more of Southeast Asia's horror. I don't think I've ever seen like a Vietnamese horror movie. I know from my time there that they don't have a huge local horror industry, but I just think these when you watch horror, like you said, you're opened up to so many more different cultural aspects and mythologies, ghost stories, like things like that there's such a potential in there to have like so many horrifying stories come out.
Yeah, I'm just getting into because my podcast producer is from the Philippines, and he's got me to watch this anime show Treze, which I did an episode about with him, and I'm obsessed with I want to see so many more things from the Philippines. So I can't. I'm gonna watch this. I can't remember how many islands there are in the Philippines. I think it's 7,000. It's like thousands of islands there. And like what my podcast producer told me was that there's a lot of lore there. And when you watch the show, if you watch the anime Treze, you see like a snapshot into this lore, because it's about a woman that hunts that is kind of like a detective that's a spiritual detective that works with the police to hunt down monsters. And you see like these different monsters. And when I was like watching, like, oh, that monster looks cool, that monster looks cool. And my producer Mick was telling me that each of them have like their own lore where people have said they've seen them, and that it's
That's
really
amazing.
ingrained in the culture there. I'm like, I want to see so many more things from the Philippines.
Yeah,
I think it's
absolutely.
a world that's not tapped into at all.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think I've ever seen a Filipino horror, but that's caught my attention immediately.
Watch the show, Treze. I think you'll really like it. It's
Treze, okay.
It's really, really well done. It's a 6-episode anime.
Okay, perfect.
I was into it right away. There's another film coming out from, I'm going to butcher this. It's called The Sadness. It's from Asia. I can't remember where it's.
I think I've heard of. I saw. Hang on, I was just going to Google it. Taiwan.
That's right. It's from Taiwan.
Yeah, because I also saw the poster recently. I haven't seen anything else about it, but.
It's I recommend watching the trailer for it because it's one of those things where it's like when I saw the trailer for like Raw, it really stuck with me. When I saw the trailer for The Sadness, I'm like, and this is right up my alley. It's like a zombie film, but not. It's a zombie film about people that when they get like infected, they become like the worst, most depraved versions themselves.
Oh, love that.
Yeah, it's really, really insane. Do you, well, the trailer is at least, do you read like graphic novels? We're going kind of on a tangent here, but.
No, I mean, I don't, like I said, I have zero attention span. So it's Junji Ito, like, is he a graphic novelist? Oh, no, it's more manga, isn't it?
Yeah, more manga.
Yeah. No, I don't. Is there any like that you recommend?
I was just going to recommend one called The Crossed. I think that's by Garth Ennis, and it's the same premise as, The Sadness, in a sense that like the zombies are these like hyper they're aware, but they can like handle guns, they can do whatever, they can handle weapons, but they just do the most depraved things to people. And that's one of that series is one of the most horrific things I've ever read. It really sticks with you. And when I saw the trailer for The Sadness, I'm like, oh, that's like the same, this is the closest we'll ever get to that graphic novel series. I'll put it in the show notes too.
Yes, please. I'd love to check that out.
It is. Yeah, that's a really absolutely depraved series. And there was one spin-off of that called Cross Psychopath. And it's about the same sort of zombie world that everyone's in. It's like a post-apocalyptic world, whatever. But this group of survivors get stuck with one guy, and that guy's a serial killer. And it's one of the scariest things I've ever read. So I'd recommend that too.
I would definitely check that out.
Just a quick question here, and I know every horror fan gets asked this. What's your favorite horror movie?
So my go-to answer is usually Ju-on, the Grudge, the Japanese Grudge series. But if I thought about it more, I don't know. I guess Mulholland Drive is one of my favorite movies ever. I don't know if that counts really as horror.
Really?
But I think it does. Yes, I think. This is probably unpopular, but I adored Midsommar. I know it. People aren't loving it recently, but
really,
I absolutely loved it. Yeah, I mean, the conversation, from what I've seen, the conversation has flipped. Like people, and I think it's because it got so popular. People, it got a lot of hype. I think it was deserved, but a lot of people, when things are hyped up so much, and you go into it and you don't like it, and you're just disappointed. Which is fair enough. Yeah.
Well, it's the whole A24 thing, right? Like,
yeah.
Everyone's kind of, have you ever, I'm not sure how much you see it on social media whenever people say like something has A24 vibes.
Yeah.
Raw gets that a lot. Raw's like, it's got A24 vibes. I'm like,
yeah.
So like I always did like,
I know, I'm like, do you realize A24 is not a person? Like he's not a director who has the same style. Yeah, but I Midsommar's up there, definitely. What else? The classics, The Thing, Lord of the Flies is one of my favorite movies ever.
It's a tough question.
It's really tough.
But you gave like a lot. You gave a lot of them. And one of the movies that I can almost connect with this, I'm a huge body horror fan, is The Fly.
Oh God, love The Fly.
Such a great like body horror in the sense. Yeah. Did you hear that Julia Ducournau didn't classify Raw as a horror film? Really?
What genre would she put it as?
She classified it as a comedy, drama, teen movie, and then like body horror, as opposed to horror.
Comedy. I can it's kind of got this European dark What cracked me up when I was rewatching it is when Alexia makes her wear the dress, and poor little Justine just like puts it on over her hoodie, and she just looks ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like she just stood there like all slumpy in this like blue dress over her clothes, and that really cracked me up. Teen, yeah, I can see this is, you know, teenage girls in horror is a very, very, very common thing. You know, the female puberty is, I mean, not that she's in puberty if she's in uni, but, you know, she's a teenager.
Yeah, it's very a coming of age story.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that I would definitely class it as that. But I think it has horror elements. I mean, it made me feel like it did.
Her final classification was like body horror in there, but I'm like, that's horror. Like, but
yeah, that's an offshoot of horror, yeah. Yeah, definitely. And I think, I mean, Titanic is about a woman that gets pregnant by a car. So
I really can't wait to see how.
Yeah, I'm assuming we're gonna have some weird transformations. You know, maybe some fly-esque, or like Tetsuo, that's my favorite film. There we go. Sorry, like Tetsuo the Iron Man, or like Japanese old cyberpunky kind of metal jutting out from the skin, stuff like that.
Yeah, that's what did I just see from Japan? That like for the first time, I'm like really embarrassed. It was like the first time it's. It's gonna drive me crazy. I can't remember off the top of my head now. The one with the guy with the slices in his face, and he's
Ichi the Killer.
Yes, I don't know. Yeah. I saw it for the first. This is so embarrassing. I saw it for the first time.
No, it's not embarrassing. I haven't seen loads of like classics, and people were like, "Have you seen this?" I'm like, "No." Yeah. I've only seen one Friday the 13th. Like,
oh, really?
Yeah, I didn't really like it, so I didn't go out of my way to. I will watch them at some point, but yeah. I don't really like that whole like, oh, if you haven't seen this, you're not a horror fan or whatever. But
I hate that so much. It's like gatekeeping for horror. I'm like, horror is like one of my favorite genres in that sense. I'm like, there's no wrong or right way to like horror, and I don't like people like, oh no, I don't watch horror films, but then they'll watch like a drama that is like so dark that I'm like, you can watch a horror film. Like, you can watch a horror film. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, and I feel like Raw is probably, for people who are into those dark dramas, it's probably a good thing to get them into horror, because they'll probably love it and won't realize that it has horror elements to it.
Oh, yeah. And it's even if it works as a drama. Like it has like you said, has horror elements to it. But like, yeah, it definitely just works as a drama, because the performances in it are so well done. So good.
And, you know, there is like the actors like Adrian. I don't know. I've never seen him in anything. I mean, I don't know a lot of French cinema, but I've never seen any of them in anything else. And they were so believable, and I just loved watching them. And yeah, I just can't get over poor little Adrian.
I know.
Love him.
Only person I've seen in something else is Garance Melier. I pronounced her name wrong. Who plays Justine? I saw her in a trailer for a French TV series, and I'm like, I should watch that. It's a French Netflix series.
Okay.
Out after Raw, but and it looked interesting. It was about immortality. Yeah, it was about like, I'm gonna find out exactly what it's called here before I kind of bumble through this. But that was one that that looked interesting. I think it's called Ad Vitam.
Okay.
Yeah, it came in 2018. That's the only thing I've seen her in a trailer for. But Raw was her. It looks like it was her first. No, it wasn't her first movie.
I mean, it could have been, because I mean, she's a great actress, but she kind of has that very kind of vulnerable, wide-eyed. Like she feels like it's such an accurate portrayal of like a young girl's experience in a place where they don't fit in. And a young anyone, I'm sure, but as someone who grew up as a young girl, you know, like I empathize so much with Justine, like, and just I read I think it was The Guardian. I read like an interview from Julia Ducournau, and she said something like she didn't want to glamorize the girls' bodies. Because she wanted Raw to be just about like the very baseness of humanity, and just like people are just bodies. A body is a body. And that's a part of the reason why I love the casting choice of Justine as well, because obviously she's very pretty, but she's just a normal looking girl. Like, yeah, you would just see out and about. And I love that. And I'm not sure if, I mean, I know it definitely has a lot to do with Ducournau being a female director as well, but there's just the way she's presented is so realistic.
Yeah, and I like that we start her journey off right from school, pretty much, right? Like, it's like her first day of school is where we start her journey, which I thought was one thing I'm going to add, or I would add to that, is with Ducournau, is that I'm loving in the past 4 or 5 years, realistically, maybe that we're seeing a lot more women directing in horror, because I feel like that was really gatekept for like obviously very, very long time. It's not where it should be. But there's been some amazing debuts that I feel like have really opened up the genre, because like you said, it's like the eye behind like women directors in horror is such like it's not like just the like a body is just a body in like a lot of these movies, that the way that they like portray the characters isn't just like to like sexualize like them for like no reason, which happens in a lot of like North American movies by like a lot of male directors, I find.
Yeah, for sure. It was definitely, I mean, you can see in Raw, like there are, I wrote in my notes here, like there's a few instances of like the female gaze rather than, you know, like when Justine is watching Adrian like play football. Yeah. And there's like all these close-ups on like his crotch and his chest, and, you know, things that you would typically see of a woman's body in movies. And yeah, I think I completely agree with you there. We're seeing a lot more women behind the scenes, and I think it's so important because, you know, women are such an integral part of horror, like, absolutely. And it's so important that we move from a place where women's bodies are just being used as sex objects or murder objects to just like, you know, and I love gore. I love gore. I love seeing a girl get chopped to bits. Who doesn't? But like, we also need stories where women are powerful and not sexualized, and more importantly than being powerful, just represented as humans. Like, that's why I love Raw. So Justine is just a human. She's just a young girl who likes to eat meat and flesh. I just learned something new, by the way. I just saw here on IMDb. That's me. Blow your mind too. And in Titan, I'm probably pronounced that wrong. Julia Ducournau's next film. Turns out Gareth Millier is in that movie as well. Oh. Is she the lead? No, she's not. And her name's Justine in that movie as well. I know. Oh, like, I just know like, maybe what? We are getting a sequel. I wonder if it's going to be like how that's going to happen. Maybe it's a coincidence. Yeah. I wonder what that's going to look like. Like, I'm very like I'm even more hyped because I just saw it just now. Yeah. I mean, maybe it's like maybe they share the universe. Maybe they share the same universe or something. Like, I don't know, because Justine at the end of it, like, I mean, obviously the sister's in jail, but we don't know what happened to Justine. So maybe she's like out and about eating people, eating boys. Who knows? I'm interested to see if it's just going to be like a cameo appearance. Yeah, which would be cool. Definitely. Oh, I didn't know that. Oh. Yeah, I just wanted. It's really interesting. I wonder if she'll have like the scar on her cheek, and it's like just like a moment, like cameo appearance. Exciting. Oh, I'm excited. Ducournau's making like her own like indie horror cinematic universe. So I'm kind of excited for that. That'd be really cool. Yeah, I'm down for that. I mean, I know I don't really appreciate sequels, but I'm always happy to see a character pop up somewhere else and just have a little bit of like, oh, hey, remember me? Like, it just connects things a bit more, I think. Yeah. Like, I sorry to go back to Ari Aster again, but there's someone posted somewhere online recently, I can't remember where it was, but they had taken a screen cap from Hereditary, and they're like, oh my god, it's Danny and Christian from Midsummer. And it's like the scene where Annie in Hereditary goes to buy it's the grocery store, right? Yeah. And then there's like these two people walk past, and one of them kind of looks from the back like Florence Pugh and Jack Rayner from the back. And I just like things like that. I just think it's like little Easter eggs for the fans to like pick up on. Did you see also in Midsummer? One thing I love about Midsummer is just it came out years ago, and we're still seeing like fan theories and stuff like that come out of it now, which I think is amazing. Yeah. And one I think I posted actually on West Coast Strange was that Danny's sister. And did you see that one about Danny's sister and parents are actually in they're later in the movie when she's in Sweden? Yeah, no, they definitely are. I've gone through Midsummer frame by frame to like pick stuff up, and you see Terry's face. First of all, you see it when Danny is picked up by the Horde. Like, you see like a image of her face in the trees. Interesting. Okay. Yeah, I'll send you the picture because it's really creepy, and you wouldn't realize it until you go back, or if someone points it out to you, you go back and you're like, oh my god! And it's her face with the exhaust pipe shoved in her mouth. And then is it later when Danny is crowned as the May Queen and she's like tripping and she sees her parents in the crowd.
That's it. That's wild, because that was like one of those things. Like, I guess she was like tripping, so that's how the science blow science. That's why that's there. But yeah, that movie just has so many little pieces in it. So
much. I mean, sorry, off track. You don't have to put this in the podcast, but I'm trying to start my own podcast. I'd love for you to be on it, by the way. And I'm definitely going to do a midsummer like assessment. Just go to town on it.
I would love to be in your podcast, promote your podcast too. Do you know what it's going to be called? Are you still thick on it?
I'm trying to, I've recorded an intro. Basically, I recorded an intro and then I got all up in my head and I was like, oh my God, who am I to say anything? I don't know anything. I've never studied film or anything. And then I talked to my friends about it and they were like, oh my God, shut up. Like, everyone can do a podcast. Podcasts are so much fun. Like, you don't have to be an expert on anything. Just everyone has a right to put their voice out there.
100%. Yeah. I'm like brand new to podcasting, really. Like, I've only done like 15 episodes, I think this one is. And it's like, it's one of those things that, I'd recommend it more than anything. Like, you get to speak about whatever you want. You get to rewatch movies in a different vision. It's so much fun. So
absolutely, yeah. I mean, no, I don't have a name or anything yet. I'm hoping to kind of like, it's my day off today, so I kind of like, right, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to get like an intro, I'm going to get this. So I will maybe let you know by the end of the day if we have a title, but I'd love to have you on it. Yeah.
Oh, wow. That'd be awesome. And if you do like a midsummer episode too, I feel like I would learn a lot more from like talking to you about that, but I'd be game to come on your show and do absolutely any movie you choose.
Yeah, for sure. I will let you know because it's really hard me being in Korea. There's like, obviously it's hard anywhere, but I don't have anyone here who's like really into horror movies. So that I think the podcast is a great way to talk with people who like it.
For sure. Yeah. I have a question too, actually, about your Instagram page. How did you come up with the name Horn Blood Fire?
Oh, so it's have you seen Hagazusa?
I haven't. That's what I thought it was from, because when I Googled Horn Blood Fire, that's what came up, and I was like, I think that's a connection.
You would love that, I'm pretty sure. I mean, I recommend, that's one of my favorites as well. I recommend it to everyone. It's very A24 vibes. But it's very bleak. It's horrible. It's Euro, it's dark, it's cold, it's amazing. But it's split up into different chapters. I think the first one is maybe Shadow, and then it's Horn, Blood, Fire. I'm not sure if it's in that order, but I was watching it and I was like, to me, that's like the three things that I would say encompass a lot of horror. You know, Horn, I'm obsessed with like demons and the devil and things like that. Yeah. Blood, blood speaks for itself, the body, the visceral nature of horror. And then Fire is, like destruction and so I kind of like, I keep thinking I want to change it, but I'm not going to. I like it.
It's a super cool, it's a super cool handle.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was one of those things where I'm like, that's such a cool idea for handle.
Yeah.
All right. Well, yeah, let's wrap up here, because I don't want to take you away more from your day off here. I want you to get to that podcast title, because I want you to start a podcast. I
feel really bad. I feel like I've not spoken about Raw enough. I feel like I've gone off on loads of tangents.
No, that's literally what happens every episode. So that's on brand for this podcast. And I like to keep it like this too, because I feel like it opens up the world for people to see the movie too. And
perfectly.
There's a lot of conversation to go with Raw. It's such a good movie. And anyone listening and everyone listening, I can't recommend watching this movie enough. It's so good. And even if you're not a horror fan, like you're a casual horror fan, this is one of those, it's a great dramatic movie to watch.
Definitely. Absolutely. Yeah. I'm seconding those recommendations. And when Titan comes out, go and see that too, wherever you can.
Hell yeah. When that comes out, and like, if you can see it in Korea, when I can see it here, can you come back on my show? Can we do that episode?
Oh, absolutely. I'd love to.
I want to have a conversation with you about that episode.
No, for sure.
What maybe an opening up to Ducournau's world here of like a cinematic universe. I'm even more hyped to see that movie now.
Yeah, me too. I read something like this line stuck out to me in an article I read. It said, breasts leaking motor oil. And I was like, sold. I'm sold. I'm already hyped for this movie. Just that in itself is amazing. So yeah, let's do that for sure.
Hell yeah. It's funny too, because you haven't watched the trailer. I recommend watching the trailer. It doesn't give away anything. It's one of those things I watched like a couple of times. I'm like, I don't know what the hell this movie is even about. Really, like visually, I'm like, this just is going to be a weird fucking movie. And I'm like excited for it.
Perfect. I can't wait. I'm going to go watch it now, actually.
Oh yeah,
I'm watch the trailer now.
All right, Eva, I know where to find you on Instagram, but do you want to tell everyone else where to find you?
Yeah, so you can follow me on Instagram at Hornbloodfire. Same on Twitter. Again, I am also trying to set up a website. So I'll send you like the details of that.
Yeah, please do.
Yeah, because I mean, I post, I do Twin Peaks Tuesdays, and I'm so sick of posting. I have like these essays, and I hate posting them in Instagram. So yeah, follow my Instagram, everyone, and then go and check out my website when it's up and running, and listen to my podcast when it's up and running too.
I will put your website. I guess you don't have your website. When it's up and running, I will definitely post about it, because like I said, you are an absolutely like wonderful horror writer, like in the sense of like your Instagram really makes me like pumped to like watch the movie. Like,
Thank you so much.
And it's just such a, I love that you cover like the bleak horror movies that I love too. And I can't thank you enough for coming on the show. Thank you.
No, thank you so much for having me. Thank you. This is my first podcast, and I had so much fun.
Oh, this is awesome. All right, guys. Yeah, you can find me on West Coast Strange on Instagram as well as Facebook. And yeah, it's been another episode of No Stranger to Horror. Thank you so much for listening. And Amber, thank you again.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. I'll talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.